The scent of rain on dry earth always brought him back to her. It was the scent of their university campus after a summer downpour, the scent of the evening they had first spoken, hidden beneath a great oak tree. For Maya, that scent was Liam. He was the sturdy trunk, the deep roots, and the sprawling canopy that sheltered her heart. They had met during their final year, two souls on the cusp of adulthood, brimming with academic dreams and a shared, quiet certainty that they were meant for each other. Their love wasn't a sudden, blinding flash. It was a slow, gentle sunrise, warming them day by day. They spent countless hours in the library, not always studying, but whispering about their future. A future that was a tapestry of shared dreams, a small apartment with a balcony full of potted plants, a dog that would greet them at the door, and the eventual quiet ceremony of marriage after they had both found their footing in the world. Their love was practical and deeply romantic all at once. The practical part came first. Liam, a brilliant engineering student, received a scholarship for a prestigious 2-year master's program in Berlin. It was an opportunity that could change his life, and by extension, their life together. It was a difficult conversation, held in the same place their journey had begun, under the great oak tree. The air was heavy with unspoken fear and the faint, nostalgic scent of rain. 2 years, Liam had said, holding her hand so tightly his knuckles were white. Just 2 years, Maya. I'll be back before you know it. We'll get married then, I promise. Maya's heart ached with the impending separation, but her love for him was stronger than any fear. She smiled, a fragile, trembling smile that was meant to be brave. 2 years. That's a promise, Liam. Don't you dare forget it. He had sealed the promise with a kiss that tasted of salty tears and unwavering hope, a promise written in the air, in the rustling leaves, and etched into the very core of her being. The first month felt like a year. The distance was a physical weight in her chest, an ache that no amount of phone calls or video chats could fully alleviate. They spoke every night, the screen a cruel barrier between them, a window to a world they couldn't touch. Liam would tell her about his classes, the stunning architecture of Berlin, the strange new language he was learning. Maya would tell him about her new job, the progress of their potted plants, and the mundane details of a life that felt incomplete without him. 1 year bled into the next. Maya's life became a countdown. She marked off days on a small calendar, the red ink a symbol of her steadfast faith. Her friends who were moving on with their lives, getting engaged, starting families, would often ask her, "Are you still waiting for Liam?" 2 years is a long time. She would simply smile and say, "A promise is a promise." She believed in him with a certainty that defied time and distance. Their connection was maintained not just by calls, but by letters, old-fashioned and full of sentiment. Liam's letters arrived in thin envelopes adorned with foreign stamps. He would write about his loneliness, his longing for her, and his fierce determination to make this time apart worth it. He would mention the tiny details she had told him about her life, proving that even from thousands of miles away, he was listening. These letters were her most cherished possessions, reread until the paper was soft and the ink faded. Maya had a ritual. Every night before bed, she would sit by her window, looking at the moon, knowing that he was somewhere on the other side of the world, perhaps looking at the same one. It was a silent, shared moment that made the distance feel a little less vast. Her love for him was not a feeling that diminished with time. It was a flame that burned brighter with every passing day, fueled by the memory of his promise. The 2-year mark was approaching. The calendar was almost full of red marks. The last few months were a frenzy of planning and anticipation. Maya redecorated her apartment, bought a new dress for his arrival, and started planning their post-wedding life with a joyful, almost breathless energy. She imagined the surprise on his face, the way his eyes would light up, the way he would hold her finally after all this time. She had saved up a small sum of money, just enough for a down payment on the little dog she had promised him. On a Tuesday, with only a week left until his planned arrival, the phone rang. It was his mother. Maya's heart soared, thinking she was calling to discuss his homecoming. But the tone of her voice was different, hollow and broken. "Maya," she began, her voice trembling. There was an accident." The words hung in the air, but Maya's mind refused to accept them. An accident? Liam? He was a meticulous planner, cautious, always. Her brain, unable to process the news, built a fortress of denial around her heart. But the fortress crumbled as his mother's next words delivered the final blow. "A car crash on the Autobahn. He's gone, Maya." The world went silent. The sound of her own heartbeat was a deafening roar. The floor seemed to drop out from beneath her. Her Liam, was gone. The boy who had promised her a future, the man who had loved her from afar, was no more. The 2 years of patient, unwavering faith collapsed in a single devastating moment. Her life, which she had so carefully rebuilt around his promised return, now stood as an empty, hollow monument to a future that would never be. The week that followed was a blur of grief and numbness. The funeral was held in Germany, and Maya, unable to even contemplate the journey, mourned him from afar. His parents sent her a small box of his belongings, his favorite sweater, a few books, and a stack of their letters, tied with a faded ribbon. She clung to them, a tangible connection to a love that felt so real, yet was now irrevocably lost. 7 days after she received the devastating news, a final letter arrived. It was addressed in his familiar handwriting, the stamps on the envelope a poignant reminder of a hope now extinguished. It was postmarked a day before the accident. She opened it with trembling hands, a strange mix of dread and hope swirling within her. It wasn't a regular letter. It was different. Inside, there was a single photograph of a ring, a simple silver band with a small, elegant diamond. The letter itself was short, written in his perfect, flowing script. "My dearest Maya," it began, "I've booked my flight. I'll be with you in a week, and when I am, I want to ask you a question. This is the ring I want to give you. I've had it for months, just waiting for the right moment. I've imagined it on your finger 1,000 times. Please say yes. We can finally start our lives together just as we planned. All our dreams, all our promises. 2 years were a long time, but I hope they were worth it. I love you more than anything in the world." The letter slipped from her fingers. The words, "I love you" and I'll be with you in a week," echoed in the silence of her apartment. A week, 1 week. The promise he had made 2 years ago to return and marry her was in that letter. He had been on his way. He had done his part. He had kept his end of the promise, but fate, in its brutal indifference, had not. The most precious gift he could ever give her, the gift of a future, a home, a life together, was the one gift he couldn't afford to keep. She picked up the letter, a single silent tear tracing a path down her cheek, a tear for the promise he couldn't keep, and a love that had already become priceless.